Success for protesters in Tunisia. The party of deposed President Ben Ali is dissolved. And an icon of space travel makes its final landing.
Minger touchdown.
Hello, thank you for joining us. Private planes carrying senior representatives from Muammar Gaddafi's government have landed in Egypt, Malta, Portugal and Belgium. It's believed to be part of a diplomatic blitz by the Libyan leader to avoid more international sanctions. Meanwhile, the fighting inside Libya goes on. Gaddafi's forces are attacking rebel positions with tanks, rockets and airstrikes. In the last few hours, an airstrike hit a fuel storage facility in the port of Sidra near Ras Lanuf, and that was some of the huge cloud of smoke that was the result of that. There's also an intense battle going on for AlJazeera. That's a strategically important town near Tripoli. And there are reports that Gaddafi's forces have now entered the main square in the town, with one doctor there reporting at least 40 people killed in the day's fighting. And in Bin Jawad, we're getting reports also that rebel forces have been pushed back. Earlier, the Libyan government said that it had taken back the coastal town after heavy shelling. And another development, Libyan state TV has been reporting that authorities have offered a bounty of $400,000 to anyone who captures rebel leader Mustafa Abdel Jalil. Let's go now to Al Jazeera's Jackie Rowland, who's in Ras Lanuf and joins us on the phone now. Jackie, talk us through the events in Ras Lanuf of the day.
Well, there were clear skies against Lauren, and that is the kind of weather in which the Gaddafi forces take advantage of the fact that they have air power and the rebels don't. From early afternoon, there were bombers circling overhead, and the rebels were letting fire with anti-aircraft guns against them. And then we saw the first plume of smoke. In fact, there were 3 plumes eventually that came up from the oil storage facility at the port of Sidra. We decided to go closer to try to see exactly what had been hit and to get a clearer idea of the fighting towards the front line. So we jumped on the back of one of the rebels' pickup trucks, drove for about 8 kilometers to the west of Ras Lanuf and came within about 1 kilometer of the port of Sidra. We hid in a foxhole, really, in the desert to observe. We could see that flames were leaping a couple of 100 meters into the air. The black smoke was rising up to about 1,000 meters and was spreading out to blot out the sun. Effectively, day was becoming night over this part of the Libyan desert. And then we spotted some Gaddafi mortar launchers, which were actually inside the perimeter fence of the oil storage facility. Those mortars were firing in our direction. They were firing towards rebel forces. While we were hiding in the hole, unbeknown to us, the rebels moved some multiple rocket launchers behind a sandbank behind us and started firing back at the pro-Gaddafi mortars. So we found ourselves in the middle. We had pro-Gaddafi mortars, about half a dozen of them, landing about 20 meters from the hole where we were hiding, and rebel rocket fire going over our heads. We only escaped because there was just one moment where the fire ceased, presumably while the two sides were reloading their weapons, and that provided us a couple of minutes in which we were able to escape from the foxhole, run to the roadside and flag down some of the rebel vehicles which were fleeing from the front line, and we were able to jump into those vehicles and escape with the rebels.
So, Jackie, quite a sort of terrifying moment, really. And as you say, the rebels fleeing the area. Is it your impression now that Gaddafi forces pretty much control Ras Lanuf, or is it still a mixed bag?
There is still fighting going on around Sidra. We had the impression that those Gaddafi forces with the mortar launchers within the perimeter of the oil facility had somehow got cut off from the rest of their units, because they were within a couple of 100 meters of the building of these huge storage tanks, which the pro-Gaddafi aircraft were bombing. They were perilously close to them. There were a couple of them. They were firing off. It was almost like they were a wounded animal. I had the impression that they had been cut off. There were rebel forces also to the south of them, who were attacking as well. We saw a great many multiple rocket launch systems that they dragged along the roadside and were firing off at the pro-Gaddafi forces, but the pro-Gaddafi aircraft continued to circle. And I heard earlier that there were some claims from the pro-Gaddafi side that it was the rebels that had set fire to the oil storage depot. We can categorically deny that because we actually witnessed while we were in that foxhole the bombers dropping another bomb. It didn't hit any of the actual oil storage tanks, but it did land within the perimeter fence of the oil storage facility. We saw it land approximately 300 meters from us. So it's quite clear that the damage done to that oil facility at the port of Sidra was done by the Gaddafi bombers who were intensively bombarding the area in Ras Lanuf and to the west of Ras Lanuf throughout the afternoon.
OK, Jackie Rowland, thank you very much indeed for that very detailed account there of events in Sidra and Ras Lanuf. Now, let's get more on those Libyan planes that we mentioned earlier. Carl Stanio Navarra is a journalist based in Malta. And Carl, you broke the news about this diplomatic blitz. So talk us through what the journey the planes made and the significance of it.
Well, Lauren, as you said, this is a diplomatic blitz, and indeed it is, because from what we are seeing, the first aircraft has landed in Cairo with a senior military officer meeting with senior Egyptian officers and the Arab League. The Deputy Defense Minister from Libya, Abdul Rahman al-Thawi, has held talks with General Suleiman, who is the head of the forces in Cairo, and then also there is a suggestion of a meeting with Amr Moussa, who is the Secretary General of the Arab League. Now, this also is ahead of this weekend's meeting of the Arab League in Cairo itself. But then we had another two aircraft. One of them landed in Malta, and we have a confirmation now of the news we've been delivering over the past hours that the meeting was actually held with the Prime Minister of Malta, Lawrence Gonzi, and he has met the Undersecretary for International Cooperation, Mohamed Taher Siala, who has managed to come here to Malta unannounced. However, it was also being prepared throughout the night, I am told, through the Libyan embassy in Malta. And during the discussions, it was reported by government sources that the Libyan minister has been giving an account of what is happening in Libya and the situation as it stands at the moment. There's no talk whatsoever, however, about the message Gaddafi would like the Maltese government to convey to the European Union as it will meet as heads of government next Friday in Brussels.
And Carl, sorry to interrupt, but I mean, do we know at this point whether these envoys do have the authority of Gaddafi, or are they sort of people at the high level kind of acting off their own bat, trying to perhaps, ensure their own future? And that's always a possibility, isn't it, in these situations?
Well, AlJazeera reported that late last night, and this was well beyond 10 o'clock Central European time, that Gaddafi himself has telephoned the Greek Prime Minister, Georgios Papandreou. The Greek Prime Minister is known to be close to Gaddafi, as well as Greece being close to Libya, especially in political and economical ties.